violence, sex, models, the carnal flesh, women, and a lot of shooting. That's what is on the menu today in yet another episode of Smash TV, your most fun and informative media show this side of Detroit. I've recently discovered Andy Sideris, an 80s director of low-budget movies with a lot of silly action, soft-core sex scenes, manly men being men and a lot of boobs. And you know I love me some boobs. Only idiots don't like boobs. Hard Ticket to Hawaii brings us two very blonde bombshells who are tasked to bring a crate with a large snake to a local zoo and happen on some diamond. Shiny diamonds in 80s movies was slang for criminals, cocaine and all that other goodness. So what do these lovely ladies do? Get into a jacuzzi bare-chested and reveal those lovely diamonds in the hot tub. Talk about what to do with it. Like you do when you find diamonds. Strip naked, get wet, get steamy. Of course having these stolen goods brings trouble to their front yard. They get the help of Ron. I played 800 seasons of The Bold and the Beautiful apostrophe Moss and some other folks as they confront the criminals and get back that snake that is more trouble than they expected. Hard Ticket to Hawaii is a typical cheesy VHS action movie from the 80s, and it has everything that most movies these days try to avoid. And this makes it fun. It's hilarious. It's so bad it's good. Not super bad but clearly low budget. There are certain scenes so over the top you can just tell they were having a blast making this. Also boobs. And manly men in short shorts if that's your thing. Hard Ticket to Hawaii is an enjoyable movie, so get your bros, get your hoes, get a large crate of beer and a goddamn barbecue and have some good fun. Smash that. Malibu Express is another Andy Sideris movie about a blonde Magnum PI wannabe from Texas who is asked by the government to investigate if computer secrets are sold to the Russians. As he investigates, he stumbles on hot vixens, rich vixens, naked women, sexy cop colleagues and a friend who just shows him her lush boobies cause that's what they did. Many of these women are Playboy models from the day, so it's sufficient to say that they are a pleasure to behold. Like the other Sideris movies, where this one is the first in the so-called Triple B series, is a little bit less out there than Hard Ticket to Hawaii, but it's still corny and cheesy. It's as 80s as you can get, and to be frank, it's glorious. It's glorious in its action. It's glorious in its style. It's glorious with all the beautiful women prancing around and doing their thing. Malibu Express can be considered an erotic Playboy movie, but it's a little bit more than that. There's more plot than a Red Shoe Diaries of Others of that ilk, and it's most definitely not an Emmanuel. It balances way more to the action genre, and the gratuitous boobies can merely be considered as action when there's no action, a different type of action. Barbara Edwards' shower scene is hailed as one of the hottest, topless lesbian shower scenes in the long and hot tradition of lesbian shower scenes. What more do you need to know? Go watch this movie. Smash that. Graf, also known as Raw, is a Belgian movie made by the French director Julia Ducournau, and it's not about graves as Graf is French for serious. Apparently naming your movie serious wasn't a good move, so English-speaking viewers will be pleased to hear that Raw makes a lot more sense. Raw brings us a young vegetarian girl joining a veterinary school where she is immediately confronted with peer pressure in the form of a tradition we call Shackton, a first-year student who gets subjected to several hazing rituals in order to be part of whatever they're trying to be part of. Personally, I hate this stuff. Hate hazing rituals and do not understand at all why someone would subject themselves to this type of abuse. Over the course of the last decade, this practice has gotten a lot of criticism. People have died, and in this post-Me Too era a lot that used to be done is quickly silenced. Back in the movie, Victoria succumbs and eats meat, which stirs something inside her as she gradually degrades mentally and physically due to the constant abuse and her internal beast. Raw is an apt movie title, and you don't need to be a rocket scientist to realize what the movie will be about. Surprising is how the movie sets up something by introducing her sister. Overall, this film is okay. It has some nice ideas, but the execution of it is mostly repetition of many other movies that do it better. It's not a bad film. It's just an okay film with okay acting and a predictable outcome. Check that. I'm a frequent user of the Like a Boss gif where Ben Stiller struts in the mine as if he's on an amateurish catwalk but never decided to watch the movie it was ripped from. Till that fateful day I put my money where my mouth was, Like a Boss. And I decided to check out Zoolander. Zoolander brings us the wonderful world of male modeling and shows us Derek Zoolander, the hottest male model, and his iconic look called blue steel, pout-lipped and dumb as fuck. We see him lose from his arch rival Hansel and fall into a pit of self-discovery with his friends, family and the attractive reporter who has been on his case for quite a while. Picked up by evil fashion designer Mugatu and sold out by his manager, Zoolander lands into a dastardly plot where he will become the assassin of the president of Malaysia who wants to increase wages for all sweatshop workers. Together with the viewer they will uncover and stop the plot in sometimes slightly comedic ways. Zoolander is a Ben Stiller movie and that should say enough. If you enjoy his humor then by all means this is a must-see. For normal people out there like me this is a comedy that has some funny moments. I smirked a couple of times and felt myself smiling more than I was frowning. The pouty model lipstick is upheld the whole movie and gets a wee bit old but they spice it up enough to keep you watching. Zoolander isn't the best comedy out there but it definitely is not the worst. It's like the models in the movie, basic. Check that. Guyana Tragedy. The story of Jim Jones is a 3-hour-long movie, conveniently cut up in 2 pieces, about the rise of infamous cult leader Jim Jones and the events that led up to the awful day where over 900 people decided, and were forced to drink a deadly cocktail of drugs, poison and Kool-Aid, and 5 people were shot trying to escape with an American senator. Regarding that last one, the movie portrays 10 people getting shot at the airport. Sorry spoilers. Even though 5 people were shot in reality, I can't attest to the accuracy of the rest of the movie as we follow Jim Jones from a kid to an adult in the first half of the movie, getting more and more embittered by people as we progress while at the same time gaining more power, turning into the drug and sex addicted megalomaniac in the second part of the movie when they finally arrive in Guyana. The last moments of the movie where hundreds of people take the Kool-Aid was taken almost verbatim from the actual audio cassette found in the tape recorder under Jones' chair and is quite chilling. There are a lot of famous and great actors in this movie. Powers Booth rightfully so got an award for this movie and is joined by icons such as James Earl Jones, LeVar Burton, Ned Beatty, Diane Ladd, Randy Quaid, Brad Dourif, Brenda Vaccaro, Diana Scardwood and others. Guyana shows its age a little bit, and even with 3 hours it's not easy enough to see how Jim Jones became what he became and convinced hundreds of people to follow him, willingly or not, into death. Charismatic leaders and their ways. Always interesting. Now buy my merch. Buy it. Buy it. Buy it. Smash that. Why The Last Man, also known as Why Do You Try to Make a Live-Action Version of Something and Then Completely Change the Story and Characters Only to Fit Some Kind of Tired Propagandist Agenda, is a show about the sole male survivor and his male monkey imps, and after every single person with a Y chromosome died instantly and gruesomely from a mysterious illness. After 2 years of pandemic and 400 seasons of The Walking Dead, one would think that a show where all the males are killed, even the male trans people, could provide an interesting look into how the world would deal with this. And lo and behold, a Women with World is filled with feminists' rants on sexism and the patriarchy, bickering women, butch male loudmouths trying to form something that's even worse, and plenty of talking about feelings without actually dealing with anything. The world building is non-existent. The logic is completely gone, and cast are soulless feminists you wouldn't want to invite to your tea party, in, like, ever. One of the episodes features the graffiti stating that sexism still exists, which is quite nonsensical seeing there's only one sexes left, but then again we are placating to the crowd that claims there are 5,465 sexes. A crowd that clearly didn't watch this train wreck as it was cancelled even before the first season finished. And oh girl, What a boring season it was, with no likable characters at all and a bland style reminiscent of the most boring episodes of OG Walking Dead. The director pleaded to uncancel the show as he had 5 seasons planned for this trek, but alas, it all fell upon the deaf ears of the audience he placated to that didn't watch cause they don't care. Here's a tip: the people who do care are people who love the source material as it is, as it was made, as it was intended, and those people would have watched to see that, not this misshapen shell you made it into. Drop that. I saw the almost 3-minute long trailer for The Harder They Fall a while back and suspected it would be style over substance, and generally, any movie with a long trailer is a movie that is bound to be bad or merely as good as the short scenes in the trailer. So I went into The Harder They Fall with low expectations, and oh boy, did it meet my expectations to the T. The Harder They Fall is a new western about a group of bandits doing bandito things while being pursued by the adult version of a kid they wronged a long time ago. To explain the plot any deeper would be difficult, as it jumps all over the place and is filled with long and boring conversations between characters. Characters that are based on real-life black western heroes and villains but Hollywoodized up the wazoo. Stagecoach Mary, for example, a hard-as-nails big lady in reality, changed to the pretty, slim and always pretty Zazie Beetz. The Black Indian Cherokee Bill changed to merely a black dude with swagger. In fact, all the cast pretty much is black, which is okay but immediately puts this movie in the realm of absolute fiction. Add to that talk about the black man's chains that apparently don't exist in this reality. Contemporary rap music, cause that's the thing we do, and on-the-nose symbolism like the white man town with white houses and interiors, the etched cross on the forehead and Ash Wednesday, Devil vs. Angel, The Halo and others make this a try-hard film by an inexperienced director who, as I suspected from the trailer, puts style over substance. Which is fine, were it not that the style is old and tired and done so much better in other movies, especially the so-called blaxploitation movies of the 70s that truly brought forth some amazing gems in underground cinema. Overall, The Harder They Fall failed to keep my attention. It's like a wannabe Spike Lee wanted to make a western and just mixed it a little with known western tropes and cliché copyright s without knowing the soul of it, and that's just not what I'm watching a western for. Idris Elba is good though. Drop that. The Dark and the Wicked is another psychological horror film with satanic touches about a brother and sister returning home to stay with their dying father. Quickly they realize, however, that dark and sinister things are happening in the background. Their loyalty to their family, however, keeps them in place, unable to escape the dark entity that slowly becomes stronger the more time passes. The Dark and the Wicked is yet another movie in the Hereditary type of horror films that use all the options available to unnerve the viewer. The sound design is effective though not as grating as Hereditary, and the events that happen in the film are often disturbing enough to, in my case, raise the hairs on my arms and bring chills down my spine. As I went outside into the darkness after the movie, I felt myself twitching to reach an inexistent weapon when a strange sound in the distance startled me. I chuckled it off, but it proves the effect The Dark and the Wicked had on me, albeit temporarily. The acting is solid, the gore is realistic, and the satanic shadow that lurks in every corner keeps you on the edge of your seat. Not the best movie in this genre, but definitely among the top 5. Smash that. The Bay is a 2012 found footage / reality TV type of horror movie about a town that gets struck by a gruesome pandemic involving flesh-eating parasites. Loosely based on an actual parasite that eats and takes the place of a fish tongue, it is quite unnerving and will make me think twice before entering any body of water that isn't in my own bathtub. Unlike many shaky cam and found footage movies, this one surprisingly isn't annoying, as it cuts several footages together quite masterfully to create a good timeline of the events that happened. One other thing that surprised me is the language used in this movie, that predates the situation we are currently in by over a decade. When radio hosts talk about what could cause this outbreak, they speak about theories and not conspiracy theories, and the CDC tries to find out things instead of forcing a point as soon as possible. It was very jarring to see the contrast between this outbreak where people are bloody and dying left and right and reality. Granted, This is a movie, but the language in many pandemic movies is so different it jumps out now. This reality and movie is also a lot more bleak and had me, again, think about how bad things could get if things actually got really bad. The Bay is a novel and interesting horror movie that will surely entertain you for its duration and might even linger a little bit longer than you would expect at first. Check that. The Taking of Deborah Logan isn't a porn movie. There is no taking it in such way. The taking we speak of course, is demonic in nature. We venture with a camera crew who wants to interview an elderly lady suffering from the beginning of Alzheimer. As they stay in the house, the elderly lady becomes quite unnerving and does some crazy stuff that would have any normal person leave the premises immediately. They stay low and find out a dark truth of kind of demonic nature. There isn't really a lot to say more about The Taking of Deborah Logan. It feels like an exorcism movie, but it's not. The elements are there, but it just does not happen like you expect. Where the movie starts off promising, it teeters in a typical cliché copyright D turn of events that bring down its momentum. Changing the reasons for it and the severity would have fixed plenty. Being what it is, The Taking of Deborah Logan is merely an okay possession movie with some minor interesting turns. Check that. See, told you this one would be great. Why don't you give us a like? Maybe subscribe to us so we can get to 500 within the next century. Feel free to comment too if you so please. See you next time for another awesome episode of Smash TV.